All right, today we are pulling back the curtain on some of the most famous names in your pantry, Kraft Heinz. This food giant is in the middle of a huge overhaul, basically rewriting its entire playbook. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what's going on and maybe more importantly, why it matters for the future of the food on our shelves.
And really, it all boils down to this one massive question. What on earth happens when a company that makes stuff we've all grown up with, these brands have been around forever, decides to literally slice itself in half? It's a really bold move, and the ripple effects could be huge.
So, first things first, let's talk about the headline grabber, the news that made everyone sit up and pay attention, the big breakup.
That's right. The company behind your Heinz ketchup and your kids' Kraft mac and cheese is planning to become two separate companies, both traded on the stock market. The thinking here is to create two leaner, meaner companies that are more focused and can move faster in a market that's changing like crazy.
So what does this actually look like? Well, on one side, you're going to have the Global Taste Elevation Company. This is where the big international players are going, brands like Heinz and Philadelphia cream cheese. Then on the other side, you get the North American Grocery Company, which will handle all those classic American staples. We're talking Oscar Mayer, Kraft Singles, and Lunchables. It's a really deliberate split, and it makes you wonder what the future holds for these brands we all know.
But why do something so dramatic? Why now? To really get the why, you gotta follow the money. So let's dig into the financial pressure cooker that's forcing this huge change.
You know, the company's own CEO, Carlos Abrams-Rivera, isn't sugarcoating it at all. He comes right out and says the environment is challenging. An admission like that from the top, well, it really sets the stage for the numbers we're about to see.
Okay, before we jump into the charts, let's just quickly get on the same page with a term you're going to see: organic net sales. All this really means is, how is the core business doing? It cuts out all the confusing stuff like currency changes or buying other companies. It just tells you, plain and simple, are they selling more of their existing products?
And yikes, here's the number that's causing all the headaches. In the third quarter, organic net sales dropped 2.5%. Now, for a massive company like this, that is not just a small dip. It's a big red flag that says something fundamental has to change. This number right here is the problem they're trying to solve.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. When you break it down by where they're selling, you see a clear story. The biggest drag is right here at home, in North America, where sales are down almost 4%. But look at the flip side. Emerging markets are actually growing, and growing pretty well. It's like the company is living in two different worlds, which really shows you the tension they're dealing with.
But hey, the split is just one part of the plan. They're not just moving corporate deck chairs around, they're also trying to innovate their way out of this slump. So let's check out some of the new flavors and new channels they're trying.
So, while the bigwigs are hashing out the details of the separation, the product and marketing teams are hitting the gas. They are pumping money into updating these classic brands and trying to get them back on people's shopping lists.
Take Heinz, for example. The name is basically shorthand for ketchup, right? Well, now they're rolling out all these flavored mayonnaises, things like smoky bacon and garlic parmesan. It's a classic move. Use a brand that everyone trusts to get them to try something new.
And it's not just about what's in the package. Capri Sun, we all know that silver pouch, is now coming out in a bottle. Why? Well, it's all about making it an easier grab-and-go option, something you can just grab from a cooler. A simple change that could open it up to a whole new audience.
Of course, you can have the coolest new product in the world, but if no one knows it exists, it doesn't matter. That's where marketing comes in. This back-to-school campaign is a perfect example of them zeroing in on a key time of year to remind parents that, hey, Lunchables and Jell-O are here to make your life easier.
All right, so that's the story here in North America, but Kraft Heinz is a global beast, and the story doesn't stop at the border. Let's zoom out and take a look at what's going on around the rest of the world.
So get this, their new global ad campaign for Heinz just asks this one simple question. It's kind of weird, right? It makes you stop for a second and go, wait, what am I even looking at?
And here it is, the big reveal. They're not even showing the product, just the iconic shape of the Heinz label. How confident is that? It's like they're saying, we don't even need to show you our name. You already know who we are. It's a pretty slick way to lean into their history.
But when you look at the actual international sales numbers, well, it's a real mixed bag. They're seeing awesome double-digit growth in places like Latin America and the Middle East, but at the same time, they're getting squeezed in the UK and running into some serious roadblocks in a huge market like Indonesia.
So, you've got the split, the new products, the global campaigns. There are a lot of moving pieces here. So what does all this mean for the immediate future? Let's take a look at the company's own crystal ball.
And this is where we get a dose of reality. Even with all these big plans in motion, the company has actually lowered its financial expectations for the year. It's a clear sign that this turnaround isn't going to be a quick fix. It's going to be a marathon, not a sprint.
You can see it right here in the numbers. They've nudged their sales forecast down toward the more negative end of their original prediction, and they've slightly trimmed what they expect to earn. Now, these might look like small tweaks, but on Wall Street, this is them signaling that, yeah, things are still pretty tough out there. And it's super important to remember this whole breakup isn't happening tomorrow. The plan was just announced, and with all the lawyers and regulators involved, they don't expect the two companies to officially be on their own until the second half of 2026. This is a long process.
Which brings us all the way back to the ultimate question. Kraft Heinz is making a huge bet here, a bet that two smaller, more focused companies can do what one giant couldn't. But is splitting the company really the secret ingredient they need to get things cooking again? Well, only time will tell.